Welcome back to Winners and Losers, ladies and gentlemen. You know the deal. This is where we talk about the winners and losers from the past weekend's football. We've spoken about the big games. We want to move on to the bottom end of the table and talk about managers, because there's a few managers under a lot of pressure. More specifically, Ralph Hassenhuttl at Southampton, Brendan Rodgers at Leicester City, and Mr. Steven Gerrard at Aston Villa. Obviously, he is facing the music today in a Premier League game. But firstly, I want to talk about Ralph Hassenhuttl and Southampton. They lost to Manchester City. I'll be quite honest, losing to Manchester City,
no shame in that.
It's not a shock, and there's no shame in that indeed, especially when you're playing against Erling Haaland and Kevin De Bruyne and Jack Grealish.
He only scored one, so that's
true. They did better than Manchester United, right? They did better than Manchester United. One of the club's longest-serving managers in the past 2 decades, and actually the 4th longest in the Premier League. So he's been there quite a long time. I also think that speaks quite loudly for the Premier League itself, only been there 4 years. However, he is under a lot of pressure. At the beginning of the season, it was revealed that a lot of Southampton players had said that they wanted him to go to the owners. Then you add the fact that even recently players have left. Jan Vowry, who left Southampton in summer, admitted players can't expect to talk to Hassenhuttl or think that he will speak to you and make you more confident.
Oh, no.
Then you also add the fact that his backroom staff will let go. It's not looking too pretty, is it, Doogie, for Ralph?
No, it's not. I mean, it's pretty damning from Jan Valery. I think I'd feel a little bit betrayed if I was Ralph Hassenhuttl as well. But yeah, the results haven't really been great for quite a while now. I think they've won 4 of their last 21 league games, which is close to relegation form, really. I do feel a little bit sorry for him, because I was doing a bit of research on this earlier today, and across his 3 full seasons at the club, their net spend was around £25 million.
Yeah,
so they didn't spend a lot of money because the previous owners were looking to sell the club, didn't want to offload a lot of cash, so they felt like it was really holding on. And then this summer they actually went out and bought some really exciting players. I think Bella Kotchap looks really promising, Romeo Lavea, Sekou Mara as well up front. So it feels like there is a new side developing in there. But they just need a bit more time, in my opinion. I think sacking Hassenhuttl might be a bit risky, only because of their recent defeats. I think 3 of them have been by a 1-goal margin, and then they got thrashed by Man City. I just feel it might be a little premature.
They beat Chelsea. And the only thing I would say, though, is obviously with a young side coming through, which is a positive, and we know what Southampton's history like is with young players. When people are coming out and saying that a manager isn't easy to speak to, isn't easy to communicate with.
It's not good messaging.
If you're a young player, and especially when you're trying to develop in football, like obviously he has a great history to obviously where he's come from with the Red Bull regime and everything. But if you're a young player coming through, no matter how talented you are, it's surely difficult to develop if your manager is difficult to talk to, he's not coaching you properly, or he's not giving you pointers to develop on, right?
Yeah, if that is true, then it's not going to work out, because, like we said, we spoke after the summer transfer window, said that Southampton didn't have like the biggest names coming, but they had one of the most exciting windows because of the young players that were coming through. Hassenhuttl has been one of those managers on the fringes. You've had moments in like the last 4 years where you thought, could he go?
Several 9-0s.
Yeah, after the 9-0s and bad results, but he's always bounced back. But I think now, with the direction that they're trying to go in with the young players and hearing these quotes, whether they're true or not, you're seeing the performances. It's not really matching up. I think now would be a good time. Before the World Cup as well, some of those players aren't going. The new manager will be able to speak to some of them as well. So I think that it would make sense. If they're going to do it, now would be the perfect time. I don't think that they should continue if they do want to actually see him go.
Okay, so you're saying Ralph sack him. Sack him?
Yeah.
Confirmed. Ralph sack him.
I think it's just maybe Ralph keep him, to be honest. I mean, I think they're 1 point clear of the relegation zone at the moment, and he has, as Oba says, consistently pulled out results when he's needed to. I think last year he got 2 draws against Man United, he got 2 draws against Man City. I think they beat Liverpool. I think they beat Spurs and Arsenal. They beat you guys earlier this season. Like he has shown that he can do it in the bigger games. It's actually against the teams that sit back against Southampton when that counter-attacking, counter-pressing style can't work so effectively. Having said that, Domenico Tedesco is out of work, recently fired by RB Leipzig. That feels like someone who is going to fit. If the owners want to continue with that sort of style of play, which probably makes sense given the players they bought, then Domenico Tedesco could do a job there. Had a really good record at Leipzig prior to being fired.
Sack or keep, Doogie?
I'm saying keep.
Keep. Okay, you got one keep, you got one sack. Let me know what you guys think of Ralph in the comments below. Our next manager, Brendan Rodgers and Leicester City. It's weird because it kind of feels like we talk about Brendan getting sacked, then he pulls off a great result.
Yeah.
Obviously beating Forest fantastically well. It kind of then calmed the nerves a little bit. Obviously, Forest would have actually maybe been a talking point previously, but then they've signed a new deal with Cooper, keeping them until 2025. But now they were winning, then they ended up losing in the weekend. Brendan Rodgers, Sam, how are you feeling about it at the moment? Obviously, didn't spend a lot in the summer, lost Wesley Fofana, had a poor end to last season, and things have continued. James Maddison's been all right, though.
You're waiting for me, innit? I think they should keep him, honestly.
Okay.
And the main reason is because of what they went through during the summer, like you mentioned, losing such key players, but then also a lot of their results. And I heard when James Maddison came out and spoke about, the team and how they're working during training, and even when Brendan has been real honest in those interviews saying that, like, they're trying, but you're seeing in some of these games like the minor mistakes. It's not like they're playing. Don't get me wrong. There's been a few games where they played terribly, but the game against Bournemouth aren't actually playing bad at the moment. Like, they're in a good run of form. So to lose to them away isn't bad, but obviously it's because of the recurring results and they're still in that area. My thing is, if they let go of Rodgers, they could regret it, because Brendan Rodgers, to me, is still one of the top managers in the league. I just think they should give him time and back him heavily in January.
What other managers are available at the moment? Pochettino, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, Tedesco, as you mentioned, Rafa Benitez, Bielsa, Hassenhuttl, Andres Villas-Boas, Marcelino, Scott Parker. I mean, how are you feeling at the moment about Leicester? I think Leicester fans are kind of 50-50, because obviously when Brendan came in, he brought them into there were arguments over they were going to be challenging for top 6, top 4 places. They were in the Champions League places for so long, ended up getting knocked out in the last couple of game weeks. And obviously they've got the talent there. Daka's scoring back-to-back games. But it's just slightly not working out, is it?
Yeah, I mean, I feel a little bit sorry for them, because he wasn't backed in the summer, and he knew what was going to happen in the summer. And he actually said, I think it was in February earlier this year, look, there's some players in this squad that aren't good enough. There's some players that have kind of had their time. And they didn't get any money in for Yuri Tielemans. His form has completely collapsed.
Yeah.
They've had a few bad windows back to back. I mean, Vestergaard's not worked out. Ryan Bertrand, Soumaré, Wout Fez doesn't look like a massive improvement on their current centre-back options. So they're in a lot of trouble. Having said that, which manager is going to want to go in there if there's so many financial issues? Like, we just don't know. Yeah. I don't know enough about their finances. Were they just readjusting for a bad year in terms of readjusting post-COVID? Will their finances be fine next summer? Because if it's going to continue where Alex Smithies is your only signing for months and months, and then you bring in Wout Fez, having lost your best player in Wesley Fofana, or at least best defensive player, which manager in their right mind is wanting to go to Leicester right now? I just don't really see it. So I think they might have to keep him because of a lack of good options. And Brendan Rodgers is an excellent coach. He might have slightly had his time there, but there's no doubt that over the first 2-3 years of any tenure he's ever had, he has massively improved those clubs.
Okay, so keep.
Yeah.
Keep Brendan.
Keep.
Okay, we'll keep Brendan. Again, let me know what you guys think of Brendan Rodgers at Leicester in the comments below. Keep or sack. And on to our third and final one, Stevie G, Steven Gerrard. That was poor. Poor
Gerrard.
Anyway, we're not doing a third attempt. Aston Villa play tonight.
Yes.
I actually feel like out of the three, maybe Ralph's got one more game week in. Obviously, losing the City's a bit tough, but Steven Gerrard could be a big game tonight, right?
Yeah, massive. I think Forest as well, with their form as well at the moment, it'd be a really damaging. Not even to get. They have to get a win. I think really, not to necessarily keep him in a job. I think he'll probably lose his job in the next couple of months, to be honest. I just think it's trending downwards there, and trending downwards there quite fast.
And it's why Villa didn't spend in the summer either.
No,
like Leicester.
I mean, he got really unfortunate with Diego Carlos doing his ACL in his first game. Boubacar Kamara is now injured as well. But I just think they've never really replaced Grealish effectively, because that team just lacks so much width. Leon Bailey's probably not hit the heights many have expected of him. Emi Buendia, they spent £35 million on. He's a bench option. Danny Ings doesn't start regularly. They spent £20 million on him. Like, they haven't used that money very effectively. And there's still got to be some debate about whether Coutinho is the right signing at the right time for that club. I feel like it is inevitable that he will lose his job. I think probably I think Hassenhuttl might lose his job first, but it will probably be Gerrard that should, in my opinion, first.
Okay. How are you feeling about Steven Gerrard? Obviously, you mentioned the summer signings there. It is very weird to sign Buendia and then the next summer, obviously, get Coutinho in loan in January, but then sign him permanently. A lot of players playing in similar positions, right? Yeah. And then obviously Leon Bailey has never quite cracked onto the player that we thought he could be.
Yeah, I think it's a difficult one, because with the Villa projects, you don't necessarily know what direction they're trying to go in. You're seeing them sign good players, but you're thinking, it's almost like Everton to a certain extent. Like, you're seeing them sign players in the same areas of other players that you think you would like mold your team around. So it is quite strange, but also like just as a team and him, the way Gerrard's team set up, I don't know his style of play. I don't know what a Gerrard team looks like. I don't know how he wants his team to play week in, week out. And I spoke to quite a few Villa fans as well, and they just don't know their identity. And as a fan, you can't look at your side and say you don't know what team's going to turn up, you don't know who's going to start where. You know, you mentioned Danny Ings is their top goal scorer with 2 goals, and I think that's joint with 2 other forwards. Do you know what I mean? So obviously they're not firing going forward as well. But I think the Leeds game was quite damning. You know, they were playing against 10 men, and it didn't necessarily look like they were taking advantage and you know, moving the ball quick and fast with the players that they do have. If you have a top class manager in that role, Gerrard's obviously not there because he's not got that experience, but I think a top-class manager could do it quite a lot with this team. So, yeah, I'm with Dukes. I think his time is coming.
Yeah. I mean, it is a talented squad, isn't it?
Sorry to interrupt. I think what Sam says there is really important. I think when you look at a squad and you think on paper this team is better than they're playing, I look at that with Leicester and I look at that with Villa. Southampton, because of the age of it, I probably think they are just above the relegation zone, should be in that area. So that's why I'm less keen on sacking Hassenhuttl. But this Villa squad, I think, is massively underperforming. And if they don't win tonight, I think he might lose his job.
Okay, there you have it again. Sack? That was sack?
Sack, yeah.
Sack, okay. Let me know what you guys think of Steven Gerrard, of Ralph Hasenhuttl and Brendan Rodgers in the comments below. And if there's any other managers you think are close as well, get down in the comments there. If you enjoyed the video, click the like button and make sure, as always, you're subscribed to Football Daily.